We're just so happy you're here.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know what, I'm a senator in Middlesex County, and when we had a problem, we thought that there was some of the residents in Edison and Highland Park some years back suspected that there was a cancer cluster. And what the Department of Health did is that they came right down immediately, and I said, you're coming right down, and they came right down, and we had a public hearing, and they brought epidemiologists with them, and they conducted a study, and they were able to dispel people's fears. But my understanding is that's not what has happened here at this point, which is just inexcusable. My understanding also is that in 2010, when SEP purchased the landfill, it was the DEP who gave them permission to reopen the landfill, to close it, in essence.
Yeah.
And so it was the DEP who gave them permission to open the landfill. It was really seemed like a pretense to me to create another landfill. I mean, okay, so I'm just trying to figure out, read between the lines. And it accepted more dumping so that the owners, SEP, could be paid tipping fees. So it seems to me very clear that it is the DEP's responsibility to solve the problem it created, plain and simple. The DEP took control under legislation. I'm not quite sure if they needed legislation. There's Spill Act legislation as well, or the Spill Act law, but you know, they do have the legislation to take control. And quite frankly, you know, the residents of Roxbury, you didn't sign up for this.
Absolutely.
And you are suffering. I have 6 children of my own, and I think I would be beside myself if I were going through what you're going through. And you're suffering with the unknown of knowing what long-term health concerns will crop up in the future, and that's the unknown is just frightening. You can't even go outside, I understand sometimes, and it's clear that you, the residents and the children, are really the casualties. But that can't last. There's back and forth between the DEP and SEP, and at the very, very least, you should have public hearings. There has to be transparency. You have to know what's going on. I mean, am I wrong? I mean, do you know anything? Or do you have any idea?
They don't
of
tell us anything. They won't come out here. They won't answer our questions. We have asked hundreds of times. They don't answer us. And when they answer us, it's in a play of words. So you have to try to read through all the lies.
Well, I think it's time for Fenimore to stop being what looks like a perpetual test dummy for half-baked solutions. You know, happy it is not going to make it happen. And, you know, you can't wish the problem away or study the problem away. I know they're in a design stage now, and if the governor really wants a New Jersey comeback, I don't know, I think he ought to come back to Fenimore, where he's been... avoiding it. You know, Roxbury needs leaders who will be listening to them, who will be responsive to them. That's the very least that you should be receiving. So if the concern, and I'm trying again to read through the lines, the concern is the cost of cleaning up and, you know, carting the debris away. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't think there's any price that you put on our children's health. My assessment of the situation, I think it's just gotten spiraled out of control. It's gone on for 2 years, am I right? Oh yeah, that's unbelievable. And I think you deserve better. And I can tell you as governor, I won't rest until every member of this community gets back their community, the community that they know, that they love, and that they can live in and enjoy a quality of life that they have known. Mayor, I don't know how you wanted to conduct. Would you want to please, or then be happy to answer questions? Or?
Senator, these people have heard me every
Okay,
Tuesday
never
night.
mind.
Patrick Kennedy is our superintendent of schools,
Patrick's my,
and he's right here.
Make sure we take notes if we need them. So how would you like to... Truck it out.
Truck it out.
I have concerns, just like the parents and the kids, of what the long-term health effects are going to be on our kids. Number one advocate for our kids.
which is the poster child for everything that is wrong with our public schools. And there's $3 billion that hasn't been funded, that hasn't been utilized to fix these schools. And I went and visited, and I have to tell you, I left, and after 2 hours, I was coughing and sneezing for 2 hours, and I can't imagine what the educators and the teachers have to deal with it. And it's a message that it sends to them that they're not worth it, that it reflects on who they are, and we deserve a great quality of life, and we're going to make sure that it happens. But this is a start, and hopefully we can have more of a dialogue today, because you don't know me very well, but as a senator for 12 years, I'm used to standing up to people that turn the other way and are addressing their narrow political or business interests. That's not who I am. Thank you.
Which members of the committee are on
Okay, why don't you go first? Hi, I'm Linda. Thank you so much. Senator O'Donnell, thank you so much for coming to Roxbury today. We have been waiting and waiting for somebody to come and listen to us. We have been living this nightmare for, like you said, 2 years, but 1 year really, really bad. I mean, our children have been unable to go outside and play. There are reports of nosebleeds, asthma attacks, headaches, nausea. It's been going on for a year. Nobody will come out here and listen to us. The DEP refuses to answer our questions. They refuse to come out here. The Department of Health refuses to come out here. Governor Christie refuses to come out here, but you are here, and I thank you for that very much. We do not want to live under the rule of the DEP for the next 20 years. They have mishandled the situation terribly over the past 2 years, so why would we want to live under their monitors for the next 20 years? We don't want to be monitored for 20 years. I don't want to have to check a monitor before I let my children go outside and play. And we need this stuff trucked out, right? Yes. We want to truck it out.
Buy my home.
Thank you for listening. Thank you very much for coming up. My name is Shannon. I live on the mountain. I live in the backyard of the Fenimore landfill. And for me, it's more personal because my family has been very ill from this. I have a 9-year-old daughter being seen by neurologists. She's having massive migraines. We can't play, nosebleeds, and every time I call the DOH, we get sidebarred. They won't come up here. We have real questions, and we need real answers. And we need somebody who's going to fight for us. As Linda just said, I want my town back. I want my home back. I pay my mortgage. I pay my taxes. We're good citizens. We follow all the laws, but yet nobody from our state that we're supposed to be depending on comes here and listens to us. So I want to thank you for coming. Thank you.
And I know there's more people that hopefully that want to talk and weigh in, but I really want to thank the press for coming here, because if you don't shine the light of public scrutiny on this, nothing will happen. I mean, it will be less likely to happen. So I want to thank you for coming, and I can tell you that regardless of what happens on November 5th, I will be with you. I will march with you in Trenton to the State House and take it to the State House, and then you can't be ignored, because this is just outrageous with these children. I mean, thank you. Thank you.
This won't be popular. I'm just a messenger here. I was just at Governor Christie's rally in Parsippany, and someone asked me specifically about Fenimore landfill and your appearance here. And I'll paraphrase. He said they're making a lot of progress. That they've got the best engineers in the country working on this, and that there's no point in him coming to meet with these people.
Because he doesn't want to answer the
And
question.
the only reason you're here
What's
is
the
to
long-term
exploit
plan?
people.
No point for him.
You know, that's
What's
what
the long-term?
Governor always said that. He always said that. It's always political. When it's something that he doesn't want to hear. When I went, and I had people reaching out to me from Ocean Beach, from Keensburg, people who are forgotten in the aftermath of Sandy, people who haven't had any money distributed from the state to get them back in their homes, people who are afraid to leave their homes that are uninhabitable, but they're afraid to leave them because they're getting looted. I went down to listen to them, to make sure that they knew, because they said that they were being forgotten. I mean, just imagine yourselves, and I know you won't have a hard time imagining this, but it's not a very comfortable exercise to put you through. your biggest investment in your entire life becomes uninhabitable. You and your children and your husband are living in this little trailer for a year, and you're going back to state government time and time. This one woman went back to the local office that was supposed to be distributing the state funds 3 times, and she had to resubmit the same paperwork 3 times because they lost it. And there's no end in sight. Well, I'll tell you, I saw this particular woman, Andrea. She was just depressed, distraught. And then finally, a good Samaritan, and Mr. Petroselli, out of the goodness of his heart, offered to use his equipment and his time, his labor, to demolish her home because it really couldn't be saved. And so at least psychologically, she felt she could take that next step. And I think if the governor went to one of the hearings that we had at the State House, we had 3 legislative hearings where we invited all of the victims to come and tell their stories, to let them know how the state had bungled distribution of the Sandy funds. And the governor didn't come. He didn't send his DCA commissioner. He sent no one. And I think if he came and listened to the Sandy folks that are still living in trauma and in trailers, and if he came to listen to you, then I think you would have a better understanding of that problem. And I'm not about going in and just, somebody doesn't agree with me, calling them names and dismissing them. I think a leader is someone who comes to the table, who listens, who doesn't always like what he hears or she hears, but then you figure it out and you come to a consensus. And so I think it's an insult to the people who are suffering here and the Sandy victims to say that anybody's politicizing them. What this governor has done is politicize the Sandy recovery. The only time you see him talking about it is in these taxpayer-funded TV ads to bring tourism to the shore. And we know he used $2 million additional money that really wasn't necessary just to feature himself. And we know that those ads were in the tri-state area to promote him because we know he wants to run for president. Well, you know what? I'm running for governor because I care about the people of New Jersey, and my only interest is to make sure that they are made whole, and I will make that a priority.
Release funds to come up here and deal with this disaster. Do you think that would be appropriate?
I think that what would be appropriate is to come together and figure out what the solution is, and then to take it one step at a time. You know, funding, this governor has taken, you know, many funds from the budget that were intended for other purposes to plug his budget deficit. He took $800 million from the Clean Energy Fund, which was supposed to be utilized for clean energy and for R&D and to create jobs, and he did it to plug a budget deficit. So let me tell you this budget is in sorry shape. This governor likes to tout the fact that he balanced all 4 of his budgets. Well, under the Constitution of New Jersey, you have to balance your budget. As the chair of the Budget Committee, I'm well aware of that. And let me tell you something. We better be, a chill should go up and down your spine because our budget is very close to being imbalanced. This governor only put a $300 million surplus, a very small percentage of our budget aside. Well, 165 of that is been disallowed by the courts. This is a fund, it was affordable housing funds that towns have put aside to use for that purpose. Court said you can't use it to plug your budget hole, and our revenues are down $100 million. So we're very close to having some real fiscal problems, and hopefully we don't have another a bond house downgrade, as we already have one of the lowest bond ratings in the nation, which, as you know, increases our cost of paying back our debt.
Senator,
Yes.
I have a follow-up, but first the question is, what would you specifically do for the people who live by this landfill? What would you specifically do?
Well, this is the first step. I would come here, you sit down, you figure out what the problem is, and then there are people who are experts in solid waste removal. And exactly, I mean, you know, I'm not, I don't pretend to be, but I'm smart enough to know, I get the people who know what they're talking about. And it makes no sense to just cap this. We know that whatever this developer put into the solar developer, first of all, I don't know what a solar developer is doing, maintaining the land.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
And you're going to bring in there, we know that what is giving off is causing toxins in the air, so it has to be removed.
And for the people in Union Beach living in trailers, you know, all those people tell us that they can't get the money from their insurance companies, if you will. They're paying their mortgages, they're paying the rent, they're paying for propane. What would you do specifically in that instance? And many actually they do blame the federal government for this.
Well, that's what this governor does, and he did it with races and top funds too. I don't know if you remember
What I'm
years
saying
ago.
is the Union Beach people, some
I'm
of them blame the federal
I'm
government.
getting to that. There's a pattern here, that's all I'm saying. Back when he was first in office, we had $400 million that were coming to the state from the federal government for races and top funds. The governor bungled the application, we lost it. He pointed the finger to the Obama administration, said it was their fault, and thank God it was on tape, the application process before a panel, and it showed that our application was deficient, so it was his problem. In this case, with insurance companies, well, the governor again is pointing the finger to the federal government. And quite frankly, and I asked this governor the question during one of the debates, the October 15th debate at Montclair State, that's on NJTV, and I said, Governor, there's an awful lot of private insurance companies that have been totally denying, and I think improperly denying, people relief. And he said, well, it's FEMA, but even if it's not FEMA, because we do have some control over the state-run insurance companies, they're 95% closure. So I looked it up before the ever debate. And you know what that means? That 95% of successful closures doesn't take into account the people who are outright denied, doesn't take into account the people who are on appeal, and doesn't take into account the people who have accepted a settlement without knowing the rights. So there is something we can do. I could tell you what our neighboring states did. Governor Cuomo and Governor Malloy in Connecticut, they held their insurance companies accountable. They demanded transparency, and they demanded that they post on the internet their performance so that people know how their insurance companies are doing. And you know what? They took them to court when they felt that they were victimizing people. So a lot more can be done on both of those two fronts. Yes.
Senator Bowman, thank you for coming to Roxbury. I'm the deputy mayor here in town, and the residents have worked really hard to get Trenton to come up here. So we appreciate your coming. But I have to ask you this: have you been up to the landfill?
I haven't yet. I thought that's
It's a sight.
where I was coming. I have boots in
My
the car.
question is, why on the eve of an election are you here talking, and you're talking a great deal about your debate with the governor? These people are here, these people are here because they want help
I'm here
for
because you invited
Fenimore.
me. I wouldn't
And
have done
I
that.
find
Thank
it
you.
despicable that you would use the campaign rally and Trenton's help. We need all Trenton's help.
We need help wherever we can get it.
I agree with you. It's despicable that the governor has not intervened.
Any other questions?